Okay, so here we go. So someone asked me to help them to calculate what the interest payment would be versus the principal amount would be if they know what their monthly payment would be and they know all this other information. So in this particular problem, we have a loan of $3,500, right? $3,500. The interest rate is 18%, right? The term is 36 months. So of course, if you don't know, the term is the amount of money that has been established that you will have, the amount of time you have to pay it back, right? So 36 months, that's basically 3 years since there's 12 months in each year. The payment that that has been established for you is $128.06 per month. So that is your payment, your monthly payment. Now the question, as I said, was asked, how do you figure out how much of that payment is principal and how much of it is interest? Because of course, they're not just taking $3,500 and dividing it by 36 and giving you that, because then that would basically mean they was giving you free money, and no bank or finance company or whoever, payday lender or whatever they are, is going to give you free money, because money costs money. That, my friends, is interest. So interest is the cost of money, right? So it's just like if I loan you $1 today and I tell you you got to give me back $2 tomorrow when you pay me back, that extra dollar is interest, right? It's a fee for the cost of the money that I loaned you. All right, so some of this is principal and some of this is interest. Now I just told you that interest is the cost of the money. The principal is the original amount you borrowed. So principal is what you started out with. That's what you originally borrowed. The interest is the extra money that adds to the principal. That's how the banks get paid. That's how they make their money. That's why banks have these big tall skyscrapers in the downtown area of every city. And that's how they have the nice elevators, and they have all the nice furniture and everything, and all of that, and all the CEOs make the multi-million-dollar bonuses, right? Because of the interest. Now, it's a couple ways we could do this. So first, now this is based on simple interest, not compound interest, I'm assuming. So I'm not going to get too deep into like the difference between simple interest and compound interest, but the first step is this. We're going to first break the interest up into a monthly interest rate, right? Because this 18% is annual. So for the whole year, you're paying 18% for the whole year. That's a 12-month period. But since you're doing a monthly payment, you're not doing an annual payment, you're doing a monthly payment, we want to know what the interest is per month, not per year. 18% is per year. We want to know what the interest is per month. So all you do is you basically take that 18%, and since it's 12 months in a year, you're going to divide that by 12. You're going to divide that up into 12 equal parts, because that's what we do when we divide. So 18% divided by 12 is equal to 1.5, right? You can just throw that in your calculator. 18 divided by 12 is 1.5. So that's 1.5%. That's our first step. So we know our monthly interest rate. We know our annual interest rate. Now we know our monthly interest rate. Now for number two, our second step, we're going to multiply that overall loan amount, which is $3,500. We're going to multiply that by the monthly interest rate. So the monthly interest rate was 1.5%. Now notice what I did here. I got 3,500 times 1.5%. Now when you write it like that and there's no multiplication sign in between, there's really no sign at all, no plus sign, minus sign, division sign, that means multiplication. In math language, that means multiplication. So 3,500 times 1.5%. But hold up, when I actually do the multiplication, I got to convert this percentage out of percentage notation into decimal notation. So 1.5% as a regular number or decimal notation is 0.015. So you got to make sure you do that conversion, because if you just multiply it by straight 1.5, you're going to get a number that's way too big. All right. So when you do that, you got 3,500 times 0.015. And I apologize for this phone shaking. Hope it don't mess up your ability to understand the video. But 3,500 times 0.015 equals $52.50. So that means every month you're paying $52.50 in interest. Now, if you know what your total payment is, the payment's only made up of two things: the principal and the interest, right? So the principal and the interest. So that means all you got to do is take the total payment, $128.06, minus $52.50, and that leaves you with $75.56. $75.56. So that's going to be the principal, right? Your interest, monthly interest, is $52.50. Your principal is $75.56, and that adds up to $128.06, and that's the breakdown. That's the breakdown, right? Interest, principal, interest. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is just use the simple interest formula, which is interest equals PRT. I stands for interest. That's the total amount, the dollar amount of interest, not the percentage of interest, not the 18%. That's not what I stands for. I stands for the actual amount of money you're going to pay in interest over the course of the whole loan, right? That's what that is, right? And then the capital P stands for principal, right? The principal amount of the loan, like how much the loan was in the first place. R stands for the interest rate, and T stands for the time, right? The amount of time you have to pay the loan back or the term. So we basically just replaced the letters with numbers, right? So I got, what do I got? I got 3,500 because that's my P for principal. That's the original loan, 3,500, right? So all we're doing is playing a game where we just replacing letters with numbers, replacing letters with numbers. R gets replaced by 0.18 because now this is annual, right? This is annual. We can do it annual. When we use this formula, we can keep it annual, right? We don't got to break it down into monthly interest payments, right? Or monthly interest amount. And then the 3 is the amount of years, because we're dealing with years. This formula deals with years. It's in the context of years. So we got the total loan initially, which was the principal, 3,500, times the interest rate, right? The annual interest rate is 18%. Notice how I converted this to 0.18. I didn't put an 18 in there. If you put an 18 in there, you're gonna get the wrong answer. So just like up here, I basically had to either divide by 100, divide this by 100, or the shortcut is move the decimal point 2 spaces to the left. When you move it 2 spaces to the left, you're gonna have an empty space. So you gotta put a 0 in there for the empty space. Remember that. When you move the decimal point 2 spaces to the left, you gotta put a 0 in there if you have an empty space. If you got 2 empty spaces, you gotta put 2 zeros. 3 empty spaces, 3 zeros, and so on and so forth. But here at 18%, slide the decimal point over 2 spaces. And the 18%, you might say, well, there is no decimal point at 18%. You're right. There's an invisible, understood decimal point after the 8 in 18%, right? Because the 18 is a whole number. So there's an understood invisible decimal point after that 8 right there that we don't have to write. But when it comes time to convert it to a decimal, you got to understand that there was a decimal point after the 8, slide it over 2 spaces. That's how you get 0.18. And why am I multiplying by 3? Where does 3 come from? 3 is the amount of time in years. 3 is the amount of time in years. So I basically just grabbed my calculator, multiply 3,500 times 0.18 times 3, I get 1,890. That's kind of hefty off a $3,500 loan. That's almost like, man, that's like, what is it? Almost half the loan, because half would be, let me see, 15. Yeah, that's more than half. That's more than half the amount of the actual loan, right? But I guess if you pay it off early, then you don't end up paying that much interest. But, you know, it is what it is sometimes. I've been there. So the monthly interest, so this is for the whole 3 years, right? 3 years is made of 36 months because it's 12 months in 1 year, and you got 3 years, so that's 12 times 3, that's 36 months. So basically you could take this number and break it down into 36 equal parts because it's 36 equal payments. So 1890 divided by 36 is also 5250, just like we got up here, 5250, so $52.50. Now, if you want to know the principal, the payment is still $128.06. You can subtract 5250 from that to get $75.56. So there it is. We did it a couple different ways, and I'm 99% sure that this is correct. I still want to do some further research to make sure that this is the proper method. But yeah, so this is basically how you can use the simple interest formula to essentially calculate the when you know your loan payment and you want to know what your interest payment is going to be, or basically the breakdown of your loan payment. When you want to know what your principal is going to be and what your interest is going to be, right? This is a process to do it. Actually, this is 2 methods. All right. So I appreciate you tuning in, and make sure you subscribe to the All This Math YouTube channel. Check us out, like, subscribe, share, and comment. And I see y'all on the next video. Peace.